Well, we're very excited. We have a excellent presentation here. We have three incredible women. They're going to give you some excellent advice. My name is Anthony Margulis. I'm with Amalfi Estates. I'm the moderator. And I would like each person here to introduce themselves.
Good afternoon. My name is Rika Ruiz. I'm the founder of Meraki. I'm the founder of Meraki Real Estate here in beautiful Northern California. Our team services San Mateo County, and we just expanded in 2020 to Contra Costa County. So I'm the rainmaker in my business, and last year we ended the year at 22 million sales volume. And between my coaches and my team, they said to make a goal of 20 to 25% year over year. So our goal was 27.5, and we're already over 28 million, and we reset our goal to 40 million for the end of this year due to our systems that we're going to be sharing with you today, hopefully.
All right. My name is Lauren Mosley. I'm the managing director of Real Estate Experts. We are located, our hub is in Silicon Valley. We have a coastal team that services Santa Cruz, Monterey, Aptos, Carmel. And just 2 months ago, we launched Real Estate Experts Tahoe. One of the things that puts me in a unique position, I'm actually not a producer, full-time in management, and we have not just a team, but we run a brokerage, so we have teams within our brokerage. Our current stats year to date, we are at 60 agents. We have done about 870 million in volume, and about 615 units year to date.
Wow. I hate to follow that one. That's a tough one. Sarah,
Right.
you are up.
My name is Sarah Knauer. I'm a sales partner at Amalfi Estates with Anthony. I've been there for about 7 years. And let's see, the last year to date, I did about, 12 deals, just under 30 million. And we're in the west side of Los Angeles.
Great. So you can see we have an amazing group here. So first question for each of you, and whoever wants to go first, I got to speak closer to my mic. So what is your big why, and what motivates you and get you out of bed in the morning? So whoever would like to start on what is your big why?
Okay, so for me, I love to give. And so we, at Meraki Real Estate, we give to over 11 nonprofits every month. And so and especially with the pandemic, I think a lot of us have reevaluated our whys in life, and it just made it more crystal clear. There's a lot of negativity in the world. There's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of people in a lot worse situations than I'm in. And I'll want to do whatever we can to make make the world a better place. I know it sounds a little cheesy. That is in my heart. That's what wakes us up in the morning. And I'll share with you some of my goals that we do, some of our goals that we do that enable us to give financially to a lot of organizations. So and of course, I want to give a good life for my family.
I'll go ahead and go next. I am relatively new to residential real estate. I spent 10 years prior in commercial real estate. I was working for a Fortune 200 company as the sales leader of the second highest grossing office across the entire company, and that got formulaic. And so when I was switching gears, I was like, all right, I went from commercial real estate, Fortune 200, biggest company in the world, let's try something different without flushing all that real estate knowledge out the window. So ended up joining Brett Jennings, which was a relative startup environment. He's been running a successful team for 12 months, but what I found there was my why. I liked to be in on the ground floor. I like to make a difference. I like to see something grow. And so when I started, we had, I think, probably like 12 agents, and we're doing a little under 200 million, and so we've grown exponentially since then. And it's felt really great to be making a difference and not just kind of a cog in a wheel on such a big ship. So that's my why, seeing that growth, seeing that change, and really kind of coaching and mentoring our partners to meet their goals and be the best they can be.
I would say that my why is to enable myself to have an awesome life and an amazing career and live in LA, and just to be able to be a part of so many different organizations and community activities, and you know, kind of be always evolving and elevating my life, and in a way that helps me support my career. And I think real estate really ties all of that together nicely.
And one thing we want to connect, so we're asking each of you your big why, and for everyone in this room and any teams that you manage or any other agents that you work with, is really discovering what's important to them. Because times are going to get tough, you're going to have challenges, and not knowing what your why is and not having a really clear vision of that, by having it and knowing it, that's really going to focus you a lot better. So it's really important to be able to do that. And I know, Sarah, it ties into our next topic, vision boards, for example, and business plans. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I would love to. So something that we started doing at Amalfi Estates a few years ago when we hired our coach was doing vision boards. And we would take an evening, and we do this every year, and towards the end of, I don't know, October, November-ish, so you can start thinking about all the things that you want to accomplish the next year. Yes, some of that is business, but more so, it's what do I want to do with my family? What kind of experiences do I want to have? Trips do I want to take? Activities that I want to do? Books I want to read? Cooking, or you know, anything that you want to be able to accomplish. Why do you work? What do you want to do with that money that you earn and make? And so you cut it out, and we glue it on a poster board, and you put it somewhere in your office or your house that you'll see every day. And it's a constant reminder of why are we going to work? Why are we making that next prospecting call? Why are we sitting the open houses? And it really is motivating, and it's really amazing to see what you put on that board come to life, because it does. I have, I think, 4 or 5 of them now, and you can look back at all of them and see that probably 80% of what you put on those boards really does happen. And then you can share them with your team. So after everyone's done, well, a couple weeks ago, we were a little late because of, you know, this crazy year, but we all went around and shared everything that's on our vision boards, and it helps you get to know your team better and know what's important to them and why they are in this business. And it actually works too. So recommend everybody do that this year.
And how often, so what month is good to start the vision board and the business plan? And then how frequently do you review them?
Yeah, so I would say October, November is really the time to do these, because you want to set yourself up to be already, you know, starting in December so that you can have some closings happening in January. And you want to make sure that your vision board and then your business plan really line up with those goals. So if you have a goal of you want to make X amount of money, so this is also, there's the this income goal spreadsheet, you can work backwards, and these will be shared with you all at the end of class. They're from Workman, our coach, who's here this week too. But if you have a goal that you want to earn X amount of money and you know what your average price point is, you can back into knowing how many deals you have to accomplish this year in order to make that much money. And again, this is all to accomplish all your goals that you've already put onto your vision board. And then you can fill out your business plan, and you can decide, okay, I need to do 20 deals. 5 are going to come from Zillow, maybe. 5 are going to come from open houses. 5 will come from my sphere, and 5 will come from referrals from other agents outside, maybe. And you put together really thorough action plans of how you're going to accomplish all of those goals, all of your pillars of income, and as well as the goals that you want to set out for yourself and your family and whatever else you want to accomplish during that year. And then I like to review it every quarter or so. And I'll meet with Anthony and with Spencer and Mitch, my business manager, to keep yourself accountable to know, how am I doing on these goals? Am I tracking? Where is my business coming from? Which pillars do I have to focus on more? You know, do I have to make any adjustments? Things like that, because it's easy to set up an awesome goal for yourself and then 6 months down the road, forget, and then readjust everything. And I also like to set a big goal. You know, I'd rather get 3/4 of the way to a goal that I was never going to reach than accomplish a goal that was too low to begin with and too attainable.
Thank you. Lauren.
I'd love to echo everything that Sarah says, is that envisioning goals is so important. We do the business planning as well. I'm going to be taking your advice and starting it in October and not waiting until December. But you know, we take a look at units and take a look at income goals and work backwards of how many appointments do you have to make, how many new people do you need to talk to each week, et cetera, to meet that. But taking it a step further about your personal goals, what you personally want to accomplish, one of the things that we do is we always run, Brett used to work for Tony Robbins, and so we use the Tony Robbins goal setting session and really think big and brainstorm out the things you personally want to accomplish. You distill it down to your top 4 goals, and we do go around the entire room sharing them. We've got them laminated. You know, you put them, we say, put it up at your desk, put it up in the shower, put it up, you know, as your mirror when you look at it in the morning, and having that, revisiting it again and again. And when the first year I started doing this, I was kind of like, oh, this seems a little cheesy. Like, I'm not fluffy that way. But lo and behold, 12 months later, I had accomplished all 4 goals that I set out, just revisiting them and having them visible. And I'm like, wow, it works. So I think, like how Sarah was saying it, we do the same thing there. Another thing, and that's for if you're on a team, if you're running a brokerage, if you're an independent, you know, producer, independent ringmaker, it's still great to have that clarity of what you're working for, why you're trying to get those 4 appointments a week, why you're meeting with new people, why you're cold calling, following up the leads, spending money advertising on various platforms, because real estate, it has to be a bigger why than just the money. Another thing that we do, if we rewind even further for business planning, anybody familiar with EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System? Anyone out there? EOS tracker? I see a couple hands. We run our business in that methodology, and you will get, if you scan the QR code at the end, you'll get the one-pager EOS tracker that you can try it for yourself. And basically, you cast a net. You cast a net to say, where do I want to be in 10 years? What does that look like? And be specific. It needs to be measurable. How many buyers, how many sellers? What does your net profit look like? And you write down what you want, where you want to be in 2 years or in 10 years. Then you go backward. Okay, to be there in 10 years, where do I need to be in 3 years? What metrics do I need to do? What do I need to do to accomplish that? Rewind it back 1 more year. All right, year 1, where do I want to be at year 1? And we live our life under the EOS model. We like to say we live our life in 90-day segments. So every quarter, every 90 days, what are the things we need to accomplish in order to meet that 1-year goal? What are the next things for the next 90 days that we need to accomplish in order to make that 1-year goal happen? Then at the end of the year, you recast. Okay, this is what happened in year 1. What do we need to do for year 3, year 5? What does year 10 look like? Do we recast the goals? Do we reset them? And it makes it digestible. You can't eat an elephant at one sitting. It's one bite at a time. It's breaking it down. Brett has this idea. He's like, I want to do 4 billion in volume. And it's like, great, let's rewind back and see where we need to get. And
guys,
what
that was a B for billion. I wanted to make sure everyone heard that. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
If that didn't just blow everyone away and take your heart, just go another beat. $4 billion. Okay. Why not?
That's on our plan. Yeah, so I think just clarity, that would be the theme of it. Have clarity, whether it's with your team, with your brokerage, with your coach, independently. Have clarity what you want personally, what you want your business to look like, what you're growing. And we turn around and ask ourselves every day, are we still growing something we want to be a part of? And it's like, okay, yes, we are. This is good. We're on the right track.
Thank you. That's great. Rika?
I love everything that they've said, and I've heard it. And for me, I don't know about you guys sitting out there, when people told me, write your life out in 10 years from now, it was really broad for me. It was hard for me. So for me, I'm not saying it's not good. It works for some people. For me, I just got overwhelmed. And I don't know if anybody can relate. You get so overwhelmed, then you do nothing. Or you get so overwhelmed, you're like, what do I do? Right? And so how do I do this? And then you just busy yourself through the day, and the day ends and you're like, I was so busy, but I got nothing done. Can anybody relate to that? Okay, so for me, my son plays baseball, and he plays tournament baseball, and I'm always telling him, just focus on the fundamentals. If you focus on the fundamentals, you will be great. And I say this to him all the time, and then I got convicted. I'm like, well, why don't I do that in my business? So what I do is a daily tracker. So I set metrics for myself every day that I'm accountable to. I have 2 coaches, and I have been, I try to get another colleague to be accountable with me. It works for a few weeks, months, and then it drops off. So if anybody's motivated and wants to script practice with me or be accountable to what I'm about to share with you, please let me know. So my metrics for me is that I have 10 conversations about real estate every day. If that means I have to call 20 or 30 people to have those 10 conversations, that's my metric. Do I do it every day? Not every day. That's my metric. So it's something for me to look forward to. However, I can tell you, I was convicted in the last 3 weeks about choices. You have a choice, Rika. When you wake up in the morning, are you gonna make those 10 calls? Are you gonna have those 10 conversations? If you choose not to, you can't blame anyone but yourself. So the least in the last month, I have been making the 10 every day. Because I'm like, that's my job. Like if I worked for corporate America and they told me this is your job, do you think you guys would do it? But now you work for yourselves and we're not doing it. So that's my metric, that I have 10 conversations, I write 2 note cards, either thank you cards or notes of gratitude every single day, and I have 5 face-to-face meetings. That one I haven't got down every single day. Whether it's breaking bread with somebody or I do cheesy gifts every month to my top clients, and I'll pop in their office. So metrics, and then we have a marketing plan where we have consistently send out 3 publications every single month, and we're building on that. So consistency, focus on the fundamentals. I think everyone in this room knows what that means to you, and all I encourage you to do, one day at a time, make a commitment to yourself. Make a choice to put you first and do those fundamentals, and you will be great.
Wow, great. I love that. So what mistakes have you made and what have you learned from them? And what is something you tried that didn't work? Whoever wants to go.
I can go. I think one mistake that I made, and I think our team made many years ago, was having limiting beliefs about what really was possible to do and what kind of goals we should be setting for ourselves and what kind of volume and number of transactions we could expect to do. We are in a market that has a fairly high average price point, and the average agent just does a few deals a year. And we kind of thought that was all we needed to do, and that would be fine. And then we slowly started to realize, no, we can do so much more than that. We can expand our area. We can bring on more agents. We can do 20 deals a year or more. Chad from our team will do more than that this year, and Victoria too, probably. And that was a huge game changer, I think, for us and Amalfi Estates as a whole.
Thank you.
When I'm thinking about some of the mistakes or lessons learned, actually, Rika, you made me think of this one because you have such specific goals about conversations and meeting appointments, and those are so specific and measurable. And when I'm thinking of some of the lessons learned, we used to really put a lot of value on calls, number of dials. And I do recall we ran a contest with number of dials for the month. And the 3 winners of that contest happened to be not our top producers. And so I'm like, okay, the winners of the dials contest wasn't the top producing, weren't the most transactions in the office. So are we using that as the right measurable? What we've found is more accurate is looking at appointments met. And the easiest correlation between transactions and the prospecting activities made to get those transactions would be new appointments met. And so for us, and again, this can be if you're an independent agent or if you're on a team, we are constantly thinking of that, thinking of our top number of appointments. We do a huddle call on Mondays and on Fridays, and after sharing a positive focus as well as a couple updates, we're like, all right, let's go off with numbers. And the first thing is number of appointments and top 3 opportunities. I'm not tracking how many appointments each one of my partners has. That's not me. Those aren't my goals. Those are their goals. But it's that self-aware, because we have sometimes almost the mirage of working. There's being busy and there's working. The difference is being busy is, oh, I was running around doing this. I was farting around on social media. I posted stuff on Facebook, and you know, those are all great things, but how many new clients did you meet with that week? And when they get to Friday at the end of the week and they look and like, oh, I felt like I was so busy, but I only met with 2 people this week. It's that self-awareness of appointments correlate to closings, and being aware of how many new people did you speak to. This does not mean a repeat, another showing. It means how many new people did you have a real estate conversation with. And Rika, the way you do it with your, 10 conversations, at least 5 appointments, we were tracking all of that, and then we're like, at the end of the day, it's that meeting. So I think that was some of our early mistakes, and also looking at resource allocation. For anybody here running a team? 1, 2, 3, okay, running a team. So when we looked at resource allocation for a team, it was very tempting for the people who are doing the best. It's like, well, they're doing great. They're producing, they're already doing 3 units, 4 units a month, and trying to give and support opportunity to people who are kind of having a little bit of a lull in their production. And we flipped that model on its head. And I'm like, the people who are executing the activities and meeting the standards, the people who are our top producers, that's where the sure closings go. And so we've kind of recalibrated where additional opportunities and ISA set appointments end up, and we've been more profitable since doing that, since putting those opportunities in the hands of the people who have a track record of closing. And so just sort of thinking along the change management and really what you're measuring, and if it's going to make a difference to your bottom line or if it's fluffy.
Thank you. And Rika, before you go into mistakes, if you could address time blocking, because I know you're very good at that, and just address some things you've done that would benefit the audience.
We've all heard of time blocking, right? So I think I don't want to beat the head over this. I think we all know this. Do the hard rocks first. So first thing I do in the morning, my first 2 hours, sometimes it goes to 3 if I have long conversations, I'm working on that, is to get my 10 conversations done. And I'm telling you, the weight that is taken off me, I feel like I have the whole rest of the day to do work on the business, have my appointments, but really protect that time. So my assistant, I have my calls forwarded. Here's the thing that I'm working on right now. I don't look at my emails. It's so hard not to look at the email while I'm making phone calls. Yet when you do that, you can get through them quicker. And then I would suggest time blocking when to look at your email. I think we're so driven as realtors that everything is a now response. You teach people how to treat you, right? It's not okay to call me at 10 o'clock at night because nothing's happening at 10 o'clock at night for you to call me and disturb my family and to have a negative impact on my marriage and my children. I'll call you in the morning, right? So I check my phone, I turn my phone off at 6 o'clock. There are times when I know there's something pending and I'll talk to my husband, I'm gonna leave my phone on, but I'm at the age in my life and in my career that my priority is my family. And if we're not protecting that and time blocking those things, then I may not have a family to come home to, if that makes sense, right? So time blocking is big. And there's this book that I want to recommend, and I think it's going to be on the screen, called Indistractable. And he calls it time boxing. And his whole thing is being indistractable to technology. So turning off those things, like I turn off my phone, at those times when I'm supposed to be doing that activity, I'm focused on that, and you will be amazed at how much more time you have in your day when you really stick to that.
That's excellent advice. Our real estate coach says there's no such thing as a real estate emergency. If there's a real emergency, they need to call 911.
Yeah.
So the reality is we make things emergencies and we get anxious and we get very worried, but the reality is, we're not doctors and we're not brain surgeons, and So once we realized that,
I just told that to my son. He's like, "Mom, I need an answer right now." I said, "Samuel, if everything is important, nothing's important." He's like, "Oh."
and so what
My mistake.
mistakes that you can share that would that you've learned from?
Can I be vulnerable with you guys? Well, I'm vulnerable anyway. Don't be like everyone else. My mistake was I was trying to be like everyone. There's always shiny objects in real estate. Let's do that. Let's do that. Oh, I wish I was that person. I'm not that person. And you know what's hard is getting to know who you are. So my biggest mistake was trying to be like everyone else and being a jack of all trades, master of none. So when I finally took the time to go, Rika, what are you good at? And it was hard, ladies and gentlemen, to ask that question. I wanted to be good at everything, and guess what? I am not. So when I finally embraced what I'm good at, now I can focus on finding people to be good, that's better at all those other things. I'm so much more relational. All of my referrals are from past clients. I'm so blessed, sphere of influence or current clients, because I take time to get to know people. That's how I run my business, that I make time for people, and when I do that, they feel loved, they feel heard, especially in a world where everyone's just texting, "Oh yeah, let's get together," and we never do. When I say let's get together, I mean it. And now I just find other people to do it. So my mistake was trying to be like don't be like everyone else. They're already taken. Be you. And embrace whatever that is. And when you focus on that, what you're great at, your business will be great and everything else will follow. Find people to be good at the other things, but be good at you.
Well said. Great panel, great advice. So questions, what specific methods and strategies have you each adopted with success? So anything additional that you want to share with the audience that's been helpful regarding accountability and goals? So I know we've talked a lot about goals. Let's talk about a little bit about accountability, because that's so for example, Rika, you do time blocking and you make your calls to 10 people a day. Now, what keeps you accountable to that? So let's delve into accountability here. What can you do to help everyone in this room with accountability?
I tell everybody my goals. And I have people randomly text me, like totally random, "Did you make your 10 calls?" Oop, yep, or oop, nope, let me get on that. But I tell people on purpose, and I give them permission to keep me accountable. Some of them, so it's great. And they don't do it consistently, but every now and again, out of nowhere, this guy James, he's an insurance broker, texts me, "Did you do your 10 calls?" I'm like, damn it. Or, okay. But I give permission to people to keep me accountable. And does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Lauren?
I think something that is misunderstood about accountability is that it can be accountability but without judgment. We ran an opt-in peer group, and this can be applied with your business partners, with your favorite, vendors, with anybody, your coach. And what we did in that practice was to put it out there, okay, what's 2 personal goals and or we call them commitments. What's 2 personal commitments and 2 business commitments that you're making this week? And it had to be measurable. It couldn't just be, I'm going to prospect harder. It had to be, I am going to hit the phones for 2 hours on Tuesday, 2 hours on Thursday. And so in the small group setting, without judgment, at the end of the week, it would be, okay, Rika, did you make your commitments? And if the answer is yes, awesome. And the answer it's very binary. It's one way or the other. It's not kind of, it's yes or no. And if the answer is no, the next question is, okay, well, what got in the way? I ran out of time. I was in my emails, right? Okay, what support, or where else is that showing up in your life, and what support could we give you to get past that? And then the last question is just, do you want to revise or recommit? And it's that accountability without judgment, and it's teaching to be accountable to yourself, not to your peer group leader, not to your broker. It's being accountable to yourself. You can't grow what you can't measure. You can't manage what you're not measuring. You have to measure it, and we look at accountability as building a muscle of being accountable to yourself and doing that in a judgment-free zone. We do the same thing when we look at business plans, and okay, we're 2/3 through the year, and your goal was to do X and you're at Y, so let's talk about what happened and where we got off track. And then, okay, do we want to recommit or do we want to revise? And again, this isn't my goal, it's your goal. So how can I help you meet those goals? And so that would be the takeaway from it, is accountability does not have to be scary, top down, big brother watching. It can be something that's without judgment and can be done with a peer, with a partner. For myself, I am very prone to saying, okay, great, yes, I'll take care of that. And then 2 minutes later, I've forgotten. So I've been using the words in meetings. My accountability to you is I will have this done by the end of the day. And even repeating it, like Rika says, repeating your goals, repeating what you need to do has helped me be more accountable too.
A couple things work well for me. I always like to have an appointment. So it's like if I'm having an appointment with the trainer at the gym at 6 a.m., I'm going to be there, where if I just set my alarm and try to go on my own, I'm probably not going to. So setting a time to prospect with somebody else on the team is really helpful, or setting kind of a combined goal where you know that somebody's going to actually be checking up on that, I think is really helpful. And then having a coach that is going to follow up with you as well. I remember just a few years ago, one of our coaches had a couple of us, we had to mail him a $10,000 check. And if we didn't say we didn't do what we were going to do, he was going to cash the check. And I did what I was going to do, what I said I wanted to do. So, that was a little bit more of a scary one, but it really worked. So yeah, having somebody else, I think checking in and, or setting a time to do it together with somebody else on your team is really great.
Those are all excellent accountability partners. Mentioning to other people about your goals so they're not private, I think is fantastic. Also on your goals too, I think it's important it's not just business goals, right? It's well-rounded. So whatever team you're on, or your team leader, or your other agents in the office, is to share your personal goals as well. So it may be that you want to travel, or maybe you want to spend more time with your family or your kids or your parents, or maybe you want to buy a house or an investment property. It's not always just business goals as well. We want well-rounded, and I think supporting that is really, really important. So those are great. Really love this panel. So other questions, any other specific methods or strategies that have worked? We have about 10 minutes. We want to leave a few minutes for questions. Any other strategies you guys want to share?
Do you have the screenshot of? You guys have probably seen this. Have you guys heard of the 5 Fs? No. So I don't know if it's going to come up there, but to what Anthony was just saying, you should have more than just business goals. The 5 Fs are faith. I have to look at my notes. Faith, finance, fitness, family, friends, and freedom. So the exercise would be to list everything in a goal for each of those 5 Fs, and then go back and just pick 1 or 2. Maybe just start off with 1 in each one. And then be specific. Are they, now that you have the goals, it's not up there, it's to make them SMART. So SMART is, S is specific, M is measurable, A is attainable, R is relevant, and T is time-bound. So I'm going to give you an example. So for one of my goals for finance is that, so I'm incorporated, so I give myself a salary, okay? So every quarter, we give ourselves what's called a distribution. Anything above and beyond what our salary, my salary, and my salaried employees make, and the profit that the business makes, we put into savings less 2 months run rate, meaning our monthly expenses for 2 months. And I do that on purpose because that motivates me to keep working, right? Like if I only have 2 months in there, I'm like, I better keep working. And so it's specific that every quarter I put in the extra for our quarterly distribution. It's measurable. I know I could do this because numbers don't lie. And anything over that amount gets put into savings, and then we give 10% of that to charity. And then attainable, yes, I've been doing it for 2 years, so it is attainable. Is it relevant? Yes, because leaving only a 2-month run rate, that would make us all work too. Like, that's all I have left. I got to keep working, you know? And is it time bound? Yes, because it's calculated and the monies are transferred every quarter. And then, of course, side note, make sure you check with your CPA, because if you're making too much money, you want to make account for that before you get hit with some crazy taxes at the end of the year, which has happened. So hopefully that helps. And I think we're going to share the 5 Fs and then the SMART, so if anybody that's interested.
Yeah, we'll definitely be sharing those. I think out of the 5 that you said, what I've found is the measurable is probably the hardest for most people. So they do their vision board, and they may do their business plan, and a lot of times it'll say, I want to spend more time with my family, or I want to be financially successful, or I want to eat healthier. None of those are measurable. So it's hard for your accountability partner. It's hard for you to know if you've reached your goals. You really need to say, I want to lose 5 pounds. I want to read 1 book a month. I want to go to an African safari for a month with my family. I want to buy a vacation home, and then have measurable goals. And the vision board and the business plan must tie in together. If someone just does a business plan or they just do a vision board, they aren't as successful. So the vision board helps your subconscious when you're looking at pictures. And when you're sleeping, you don't realize it, but that picture of that house you want to buy, or paying for your kids' college, or whatever it may be, subconsciously you're going to pick it up. And then the business plan gives you the steps needed to obtain what's on your vision board. So it's really, really important to share that. Okay, Lauren and Sarah, anything you want to add?
I think if I can speak for a minute about some efficiencies, one of the things we implemented this year is just being aware of how your time is spent, and specifically with internal meetings with your team, whether it's your marketing contact, with your business manager, with side, your favorite vendor, your assistant. Any meeting that's an hour can be done in 45 minutes. Any meeting that's 30 minutes can be done in 20. And no meeting should take place without an agenda. So before we book time on each other's calendars, what's our optimum outcome for the meeting, our optimum desired outcome? What is the agenda? What are you coming to the table with? And so I think for helping along the lines of accountability to yourself is looking at where your time is spent, time blocking or time boxing, and making sure you have time for what's important, because like Anthony said, the business goal without a personal goal of what that's leading to is not going to be as effective. So that would be one little tidbit that we've implemented this year.
And on that note, when you have extra time, it's fake busy work. So you meet with a client and you say, I just met with a client for 2 hours. And as Lauren said, you could have got the same amount of work done in 30 minutes with that client. So it's busy people get more stuff done, and it's that same concept. So it's just using more quality time rather than spending more hours with that same client, if you will. Sarah. Oh, I want to say one thing that I wanted to add, maybe Sarah could add to, and it's on accountability. So Sarah set up a board of directors. You may say, wow, I'm not a corporation, or maybe I am incorporated, but I didn't think of having a board of directors. So Sarah, could you share your board of directors and how that's helped you?
Well, yeah, so I think I touched on it earlier, actually, but it's Anthony, my
You did
broker.
a little bit. You said a couple people were helping you as advisors.
Okay, so Anthony, Spencer Kroll, who is the managing broker for Southern California, Mitch, who is our business manager, Paul, who's one of our coaches, and then my assistant and partner, Cody, who helps me run the business every day. So between those, I guess that's 6 of us. That's who I went over my entire business plan with last November when it was finished. And then we've touched base, I think every quarter since then, just to make sure I'm still tracking on those goals.
And that shares with what Rika said about sharing it publicly. So you're enabling the people that care about you the most, and you're meeting with them regularly, and you're reviewing it. I think it's fantastic. So we have about 5 minutes left. We want to open it up to questions. How are we doing the mics for questions? Awesome. Okay, so any questions? Adam will take the mic around. Raise your hand. Any questions for the group? Any? Yeah. You got to run. Come on.
So this is for Lauren, I think. So shortening your client time. So what do you do when you have a client who wants to be friends and does take 2 hours because of the socialization aspect of the meeting?
Love that. Are you familiar with the DISC assessment? Yeah, so one of the things that I train my partners to do during onboarding is when they're starting a buyer's consultation with somebody or listing consultation, the verbiage is, just curious, what is it that you do for a living? And when we hear that somebody's in sales, we circle on our little cheat sheet a high I, and we know that this is going to be like a friend. We're going to need to block a little extra time with them. If I hear that somebody says they're self-employed or an executive, we circle D for dominance driver. We're going to keep our communication succinct, to the point, bullet points, quick and efficient. If someone's an engineer, and being in Silicon Valley with a lot of engineers, we're going to circle C, and we're going to be sending a lot of data. Is this mean that everybody in sales is high I and that everyone who's a high I wants to be your best friend and have a big social component? No, but it's a place to start, and tailoring our communication and time blocking our calendar appropriately helps. There's sometimes you have to book a meeting after another one. Otherwise, you are going to be there for 2 or 3 hours without a deadline, a stop point.
And I think you can remember too, even if you have an appointment with yourself to do to do your prospecting or an email or something that you had to do to get out, you can say, I have another appointment, and you have to leave.
You can also start your appointment that way. Hey, Sally, I have 30 minutes. So happy to be here with you.
Any other questions? You have a great group here. There we go.
So I'm just curious, sorry, I'm just actually laughing. So I'm just curious, what is your day start like? Like, I know you do time blocking, so you do your 10 calls, but what do you two do? Like, just because I feel like sometimes I very much struggle with maintaining my schedule daily.
So I like to start my day very early.
Could you just restate it for the recording?
This lovely lady would like to know how we structure our day and what Lauren and I do in the mornings to get our day started. I like to start very early with a workout at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I have an appointment set with a friend or with a trainer or a class or something. And then I like to spend a little bit of time to myself after that, meditate, get ready, whatever that's going to be, so that I'm ready to, the rest of my day goes so much better if I take an hour or 2 hours in the morning to do that, and I have time. I don't feel rushed, and I feel better all day. I try to get to my office by 8:30 or so. You can handle anything, have a team meeting, and then try to do the prospecting, those hardest calls, those appointments, sending appointments, texting people, checking hot sheets on the MLS, trying to see who can I set up an appointment with this week. I try to get that done right out of the way, and then it gets hectic from there.
Well, you are quite the role model for how to start a day. I am not a role model for how to run your day. I'm a night owl, so 30 minutes before my first Zoom call, I'm dragging myself out of bed. Again, I'm not in production, so my calendar, if everything's calendared, and that includes time for callbacks and for emails. I do not. I'm like Eureka. I don't spend much time in email. There's dedicated time to look at it.
I'm working on that.
You're working on it. It gets better. Yeah, I'm in Zoom meetings. I've got appointments to keep with with my agents. I have staff departments that report in underneath me. We have an agenda, so there's going to be to-dos and follow-ups from each meeting and making sure I accomplish those. I do give myself family time, so I will kind of shut down my computer and stop from about 6 until 8, and that's family time with my husband. We're making dinner. We're catching up about our day, and then around 8:30, 9 o'clock, I log back on while we're sitting back and glass of wine, something on Netflix, and re-catch up. I'm a big proponent of I like to be prepared for the next day. I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night with like Tuesday scaries where there's things that I needed to get done and I didn't do it. So I'm very much just stay up, do it, get it done, and then start the day over the next day. But Sarah's schedule is much healthier. I'd go for that one.
I
don't
think
stay
we have
up
time
very
for
late,
what,
though,
one
so.
more question or two? One more? Okay.
So I kind of just want to know, like, what is your best advice for, someone who is in their prime time for their career, or newer agents where they're really eager to learn, or they have a really hectic schedule to find a balance, instead of working 16-hour days or, whatever the case is, or feeling guilty for wanting time off?
Well, I would say, I guess, a little different answer for depending where you are in your career, right? When you're starting out, you probably are going to be working maybe not 16-hour days, but maybe some 10, 12-hour days, and you're going to be working on the weekends and doing open house every Saturday and every Sunday, and you're really going to be working hard to build up a client base because it's hard to get started in real estate. You might not sell a house for a long time, and you really want to build up some momentum. And then I think once you have some momentum going and you've really kind of geared up, then you can be a little bit more selective maybe about where you're spending your time. And okay, am I gonna sit in open house for 3 hours, or am I gonna maybe try to go to lunch with a few people that I wanna reconnect with, or go to a party and a social event? And I think one of the beautiful things about real estate is that we work with our friends, right? Our social life is huge for our business. If you think about how many friends, people you went to school with, college with, whatever that might be that we work with, it's a big number. So you can also start to take that balance out, especially as you get a little older, and those are the people that now you're working with who are buying homes and selling homes, and buying a bigger one because they're having kids and families now. It's important to put your time and effort into those relationships and to be social, and then hopefully you have some help now that's maybe still at the computer and doing some of the follow-up work and getting the offers out and doing that work, the computer work that you were doing all of originally, and now you're not doing anymore because you can focus on the outward activities that feel more like time off. And of course, everyone needs time off. I think if you don't take time off, you're going to be less productive and not do as well, the rest of your week if you didn't recharge.
I agree with that. Also, plan your time off. We encourage our agents to take 1 week a quarter. Plan it, have it scheduled, have it planned. I guarantee you're going to have a bunch going to escrow right before you leave. That deadline is just going to make stuff happen. So plan your time off. And furthermore, if you're doing 16, 17 hours a day, have a coach look at your calendar. If it's not in your calendar, you shouldn't be doing it. And looking at your calendar and looking at each item. At a certain point in your career, you need to look at leverage. If your income goal is $500,000, what is that, $250 an hour? So if there's something that you're doing that is not $250 an hour work, outsource it. So plan your time off. Leverage. If you're not using a TC, use a TC, because if you're spending your time doing $25, $35 an hour work, that gives you less time to do the $200 an hour work, or the $250 or the $350 an hour work. So that would be my advice, is there's time to leverage.
Do you really want to hear my answer? Okay. Ask yourself the hard questions. What do I want my life to look like? My husband used to ask me that question, and it almost made me cry, like, for years. I'm like, stop asking me that question. It's a hard question. If your life isn't what you want it to look like, how can you change it? And to the point of, if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist, totally, wholeheartedly agree. It was hard for me. So you know what I did? I started I'm going to challenge you to do this. For 1 week, in every 30-minute increment, write down what you did in that 30 minutes. And at the end of the day, you will see where you squandered your time and how you can be more efficient and have the life you want.
There's another, I can actually ask our coach too to add it to one of the QR codes, but there's a perfect week where it will probably never happen, but you say, where do I want to spend my time working out and with my family and doing these activities, and fill in when am I going to do showings, when am I going to do open houses, when am I going to do my prospecting, and that's really helpful just to, you can see a balance of all those activities.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. Rika, Lauren, Sarah, this was awesome. A big round of applause, you guys.